Hi everyone, my name is Duncan and I'm a librarian with Peace Library System. Today we're going to go over eMaterials. This is our eMaterial refresher webinar. So we're going to go over um, e-readers, all the different e-resources where we can find ebooks for our e-readers. And we will also look at mobile apps for downloading ebooks and e-audiobooks. So we're going to go over everything today. Before we begin, I'm going to do a land acknowledgement. Peace Library System acknowledges that we are located on the Treaty 8 territory of the Cree, Beaver, and Dene people and Region 6 of the Métis Nation of Alberta. We are grateful to live, work, and learn together on this land, which has been home to many First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples since time immemorial. We recognize this land as an act of reconciliation, and we also commit to supporting and celebrating our local Indigenous communities while working to break down institutional barriers to make our libraries equitable and accessible. So this is a little overview of what we're going to be looking at today. We'll begin with e-readers and how we use Adobe Digital Editions to get ebooks from our e-resources onto your e-reader. And then we will look at Overdrive, Cloud Library, and Read Alberta ebooks, which are our three main e-resources where you can find e-content. All right, let's dive into e-readers and Adobe Digital Editions. Now, there are many different kinds of e-readers. Today, we're going to be focusing on the Kobo e-readers. If you would like to get ebooks from a resource that we have to your mobile device, you're going to download the mobile app. And I actually recommend, if you have patrons who are asking about ebooks, I recommend that you advise them to use a tablet or use their mobile device and download the app as opposed to using an e-reader, because you will see that e-readers require wires and a lot of transferring, whereas mobile apps are connected to the internet and you can automatically download it straight to your device. So it's a little bit easier, but both ways are possible. All right, but to get ebooks from a PLS e-resource to an e-reader, we need to use Adobe Digital Editions. But before we do that, let's take a look at some e-readers that do work and some that don't work. So like I mentioned, the Kobo e-reader is the preferred choice, but there are also a couple other brands that work with the Read Alberta ebook resource, and that is the Tolino and the Booking Diva e-readers. You're not going to run into these ones very often, if ever. You're mostly going to be dealing with Kobos, so I wouldn't worry too much about these brands. E-readers that don't work include Kindle, and although Kindle is preferable for Amazon ebooks and a lot of American libraries, the file type that Kindle uses is not very common in Canadian libraries. So we're going to avoid using Kindle altogether. The best way to check and see if your e-reader does work with our e-resources is going to be to plug it in once we have Adobe all set up and try to drag an ebook file onto the e-reader. If it accepts it, it works. If it doesn't work. But sometimes we have to troubleshoot that way just to make sure. All right, so Adobe Digital Editions, what this is an ebook reader. So it's also how we transfer ebook files from our computer to our e-reader device. So Adobe can be downloaded onto your desktop or it can be downloaded onto your mobile device. For this webinar, we're going to focus on the desktop, but it does work with both Android and Mac products. You can get it from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store. Or if you have a PC, it works on your PC computer like I'm using today. But essentially, you would download Adobe Digital Editions and create an Adobe ID. It's going to ask you to create an ID so you can log in. And then you're going to authorize your computer. And I'll show you how to do that in a moment. And then any ebook files that you download can be dragged into Adobe Digital Editions, and they are imported into the reader. So you can read those ebook files without an internet connection simply by opening up Adobe on your computer. Or if you have it on your phone, you can read it without an internet connection on your phone. But you can also drag the files into Adobe and then plug in your e-reader and drag them onto your e-reader. So you'll notice as we go through this webinar, there's lots of different ways to read ebooks, but it's nothing you have to memorize the entirety of. It's more about finding what is preferable to you and your community, and what's going to work best for patrons. And I'm going to exit out of here and I'll just show you what Adobe looks like. So when you download Adobe, this is what appears. So you'll have all these different bookshelves on the left-hand side. They're all empty because we don't have any ebook files in there at the moment. To authorize your computer, you're going to go to Help and just click Authorize Computer, and then Adobe will trust your computer to import files. When you plug in an e-reader, like I have up here, it's going to appear under Devices. So my Kobo e-reader is currently plugged in the computer, and it's also going to ask me to authorize the device. So you will have to click on the gear there and then click Authorize Device. And then what happens is when we drag ebook files into our bookshelves, they will import here, and then we can drag them into our e-reader and then unplug our e-reader, and we can read them on the go. All right. As we go through the e-resources, you'll notice that there are different ebook file types. Some of the most common are going to be the PDF and the EPUB file types. Sometimes you might even see the ACSM file. And this is just Adobe converting your PDF or EPUB file into a format that the software can read. So sometimes when we drag a PDF file into Adobe, it'll turn into an ACSM file, but that's nothing to be concerned about. It's just making sure that the file can actually be read. All right, let's start with Overdrive, and then we'll look at Cloud Library, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty of Read Alberta. So to get to Overdrive, you can go to your library website or the PLS website, and under e-resources, we're going to scroll all the way down to O for Overdrive. And before I click in, I'll point out that we do have brochures on all of our e-resources. So for example, we have a brochure on Overdrive and how it works. Libby is the mobile app for Overdrive. It's a different name, but we also have a brochure on how to get set up with Libby. And then we do have a brochure on e-readers and Adobe Digital Editions that goes through everything that we're talking about today. One important thing to note about Overdrive and e-readers is that some Kobo e-readers have Overdrive built into them, so you don't have to plug in your e-reader into your computer and manually transfer files. You can just connect to the internet with your Kobo e-reader and loan ebook files from Overdrive with a Wi-Fi connection. However, not every Kobo e-reader has this feature, which is why on our brochure, we have included a list of models that do have this feature. So you can double check here if you're not sure. All right, but let's click into Overdrive. Okay, so everyone here should be fairly familiar with Overdrive, but quick overview, Overdrive allows patrons access to thousands of ebooks, e-audiobooks, and e-magazines. Each loan can be borrowed for up to 3 weeks. This is our homepage here. We have a number of different lists that are updated monthly, so you can explore through there, but there are also tabs at the top, like subjects, collections, where we can specify if we're looking for ebooks or audiobooks or maybe for magazines. Of course, ebooks are the only e-content type that can go onto e-readers. Audiobooks, you'll have to either listen on your browser or through a mobile app, and same with magazines, it's going to be browser or mobile app for the most part. There's also a search bar that we can use to search for different titles. So if I search the word sun, I can see a list of different titles that are available to borrow. Some I have to place a hold on. But let's say I want to borrow this book. I would click borrow. I can choose how long I want the loan to be, and then click borrow. And so immediately when you borrow an item from Overdrive, it gives you 2 options. I can either read it in the browser right now, and that's with an internet connection, or I can download the EPUB ebook file, which is that file type we spoke about earlier. So if I want to read it in the browser, I'm going to click on that. And then it's going to load the book in my tab here and allow me to flip through it. And we'll come back to that. My internet's being a little funny, so we'll let that load and we'll come back. But let's find an audiobook to download. Here, how about this one? So this is an audiobook. I'm going to click borrow, choose how long I want it for, click borrow again. And then these options, so it gives me the option to read it now or listen now in the browser, or it gives me some steps to listen to it and open it up in Libby, which is the Overdrive mobile app. See if this is loaded yet. Not loading for me, but this is what it should look like. So for the audiobook, it's opening up in our browser. I can listen to it directly in here. Skip ahead. There's a few different settings that you can go through to make it go faster. I apologize that the ebook one isn't loading. My internet's not working. But for the ebook settings, you can change things like the font, how big it is. You can change like the background color, if you want it to be in dark mode or light mode. But that's reading in your browser with an internet connection. Now, to get it onto Adobe, we need to go to our loans. So we're going to go under my account to loans. And here is where it's going to give us the option to download that ebook file type again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to minimize my browser here. I'm going to open Adobe on the other side. And I'm going to download this EPUB ebook file. And so it downloads, and I drag it into Adobe. And now I can read this title on Adobe. So if I wanted to bring this laptop with me on vacation somewhere and read books without an internet connection, I would just import them into Adobe, and then I can access them without Wi-Fi. To get it onto my e-reader, I'm just going to drag it to my e-reader device. And now when I click on my e-reader, it is now imported. I can unplug the e-reader and take it with me, and the book is going to be on my device. Now, because it's a digital item, you don't have to worry about returning it. It will automatically return itself and restrict your access after your current loan time. So this one says, was it 14 days or 13 days? So it will automatically return at the end of your loan. Okay. All right, let's take a look at Libby, the mobile app. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and we're going to share our other screen here. All right, so in Libby, when you download the app from the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store, depending on your device, you're going to click into it, and you do have to log in with your library card. It's going to ask you to search for your library when you first log in. So you're going to enter the track consortium, and then it's going to ask for your library account details. So you'll enter your barcode and your PIN, and then you'll have access to the same kind of shopping screen that you would get on the desktop version of Overdrive. So there's still the same book lists. You're still able to search. If you're looking for a specific title, you can use the search bar. But any book that we've taken out on loan on Overdrive on the desktop is going to appear in Libby. So it automatically updates onto our mobile app, and I can go in and I can start reading. Or I can go to my audiobook and I can start listening to my audiobook. Okay, so that is Libby. Another way that we can get ebook files is going to TrackPack. All right, so once we're logged into TrackPack, to search for Overdrive titles, we're going to type in the search bar what we're looking for. And this is going to display all the results within TrackPack. But to limit it to Overdrive titles, we're going to go to the side here under Authors and click Overdrive. And then what this is going to do, it's going to limit all of our search results to ebooks and e-audiobooks that are available in Overdrive, and we can actually check them out through TrackPack. So you'll notice under each of them, there is a little Overdrive symbol, designates whether it's an audiobook or an ebook. But what I can do is, let's say this is the book I want, I can click check out, tells me the file type, and then I can download it directly here through TrackPack, or if I go back into Overdrive and refresh my screen, we can now see that I also have this title out on loan. So it updates all across, whether you're taking it out from TrackPack or Overdrive on the desktop or Libby on your phone. It updates across all of the different formats. And we're going to get into Cloud Library next here, but you can also limit search results to Cloud Library titles as well. So if I search in my search bar again, and I go down to Authors, I go to Cloud Library, and this will give me ebooks and e-audiobooks from Cloud Library that I can download. And you'll see the Cloud Library logo under all of them too. So let's check out this book and we'll see if it appears in Cloud Library when we get into it. Awesome. So the Cloud Library book has been checked out. We will take a look soon. All right, Cloud Library also lives under our e-resources. So if you go down to C for Cloud Library, there is also a brochure for Cloud Library that goes over everything you need to get set up. But I'm going to click into it. And it's very similar to Overdrive in terms of setup. There's lots of book lists that are changed monthly. It notes whether a title is an ebook or an e-audiobook with these little icons in the corner. We can use a search bar as well. When I want to borrow a title from Cloud Library, I'm going to borrow. And then it gives me the option to either read it in browser, or I can go to my loans and download the file. But let's also download an audiobook too. So this one will download as well. Let's see if that worked. I'm not sure if that worked or not. Oh yeah, there we go. My internet's just being funny. All right, so here's the 3 books that we have on loan currently with Cloud Library. This first one here is the one that we got from TrackPack. So you can see that it crosses over nicely. We can read these books directly in our browser, similar to Overdrive, except this one's actually working. But there are also similar settings to Overdrive where you can change like the font size, you can change the background, page margins, all sorts of things you can fiddle with. And then similar to Overdrive with the audiobooks, you can also, with an internet connection, log into Cloud Library and listen to your audiobook on the site here. Okay. But let's put these onto our e-reader, or the ebook rather. So I'm going to open up my Adobe. And to download the file, I'm going to go to the 3 little dots beside the read button for our ebooks, and I'm going to click download for offline reading. And that's going to download our title. And I'm going to drag the file into Adobe. And it imports. And now I can open this book without an internet connection and read it as I please. And then to put it onto our e-reader, I'm just going to drag the file to our e-reader. And it imports directly there. And then again, I can unplug my e-reader and take it with me on vacation and have these two books to read. And they will both automatically return. Awesome. Let's take a look at the Cloud Library app so you can see how that works. All right, there we go. So similar to Libby, the Overdrive app, I can go to my books, and anything that I have downloaded or taken out on loan is going to automatically update within the app. When you first log into the app, it's going to ask you to search for your library, similar to the Libby app. So you're going to select Track, the Regional Automation Consortium, and then enter your library barcode and PIN. And then that way you're logged in and you can access the materials you have on loan. It'll download to your device and you can open it up. Or you can access your audiobook and listen to it on your mobile device. And then there are also all of the book lists that are included on the Cloud Library desktop site, but you can also use the search bar as well to search for different titles. All right. Moving on. All right, let's take a look at Read Alberta ebooks and e-magazines next. So similar to our previous e-resources, we're going to go to our e-resource page and we're going to scroll down to R for Read Alberta. Again, we also have a brochure for Read Alberta that goes over everything, but I'm going to click into it and open it up. You're going to want to make sure you're signed in with your library card, barcode, and PIN. But what Read Alberta is, Read Alberta eBooks is a platform that was created by the Public Library Services Branch and the Book Publishers Association of Alberta. So there are over 1,000 different ebook titles from Alberta publishers and authors, some e-audiobooks as well. There's also a collection within the platform called the Prairie Indigenous ebook collection, and that has over 200 titles with Indigenous content by Indigenous authors from Alberta, Manitoba, and Saskatchewan. Okay. So each account or each login allows you for up to 7 titles to be on loan, and you can have them for up to 3 weeks. And what's nice about Read Alberta is that the titles are simultaneous use, which means you don't have to ever place a hold on an item. Every title is always available, so you never have to wait. Okay. So there are some different book lists that we can go through. There's a catalog that lists everything in Read Alberta that you can pick through and use the limiters on the side to limit what you're looking for, or we can use the search bar as well. So let's say this book I'm going to borrow loan. And there's a few different ways to read ebooks on Read Alberta. We can read it online. So by clicking Read Online, we can read it within our desktop browser, similar to the other e-resources we looked at. There's different settings. We can change the font, page margins. Okay. We can also read it offline on our computer, which is similar to how we drag e-files onto Adobe, and then we can read them without an internet connection. But for Read Alberta books, it's a different file type. So we have to download a different ebook reader. So instead of Adobe, there is a reader called Thorium, Thorium. And this reads a specific type of file that Read Alberta uses. And this can be found on the App Store or the Google Play Store. You can download it directly to your desktop. But if you want to read the title offline, you're going to click on Read Offline on a computer. It's going to download your title as an LCPL file, which is a little bit different from the other files we've seen. But similar to Adobe, I'm just going to drag it into the reader. It'll import, and then I can click on it and read it directly on my computer without an internet connection. That's Thorium. There's also the option to read the ebooks on an e-reader, like we've been discussing. So there's two different links here. One is for the Tolino or the Booking Diva e-readers. So that's that one type of e-reader I was talking about earlier. So it'll be rare that you click on that one. For all other ones, which is the Kobo, the one we're focusing on today, you're going to click on Other e-readers. And that will download an ACSM file type that we can drag into Adobe. So I'm going to pull up Adobe, drag my file type into there. And now I can also read it on Adobe and drag it onto my e-reader. So now I have 3 different books on my e-reader from 3 different e-resources. We have Read Alberta, Cloud Library, and Overdrive. So pretty neat. Now, if you want to get to all your current loans on Read Alberta, you're going to go to your name, you're going to go to Loans and Holds, and this will have everything that you currently have out right now. So I have these 3 titles out at the moment, but it also gives me the options that we just went over if I want to read it online, offline, or on an e-reader. Okay. Now, there's no specific app for Read Alberta. So if you want to read your ebook on a mobile device, instead, there are a couple different options to choose from. So there are 2 apps that we're able to use to read those files on our phones. One is called Aldeco Next, and the other is called Bukhari Premium. And there's 2 because there's a pro and a con to each of them. The pro of Aldeco is that you can browse the entirety of the collection on your app. However, the app does not support all the titles file-wise, so there might be some books when you're browsing on the app that you can actually download and read. Bukhari is kind of like the opposite. You can download and read any title, but it doesn't give you a space to browse all the titles within the Read Alberta collection. You'd actually have to go to your mobile browser, Read Alberta on your mobile browser, and then download that file and import it onto the Bukhari app on your phone. So this one gets a little bit complicated. I recommend using Aldeco, but I will show you both how they work. So I'm going to exit out of there. All right, so the Aldeco app, you will have to find and select Peace Library System. It's not going to make you create an account, but you will have to initially search for PLS when you first log in. It's going to give you a very nice shopping screen of all sorts of lists that you can go through for ebooks, magazines, or audiobooks. And so any that have the green underneath them that say available now, those ones are going to be able to access on your phone. And there's not too many that don't have it. So again, the pro of this is that you can browse the titles on Read Alberta. However, not everything may be available. And go to my books and I can start reading on my app. Okay, so that's Aldeco. Bukhari, before I go in, what you'll have to do in Bukhari is go to Read Alberta on your phone. You'll have to download the file. So go to your Loans and Holds. And you're going to download it similar to an ebook file. So you would click on Other e-readers right here. And then you would open that file in Bukhari and then you can read it on your mobile device. So again, there's two different ways. I recommend LD code just because it's a little more straightforward and not as many steps, but between the two of them, you're able to access everything on your phone. All right, so I'm going to stop that. I'll share my screen again. But that is it for our eMaterials refresher. If you have any questions or would like to learn more, you can always contact the consulting department and we can help you out. But thanks, everyone. Hope to see you at the next one. Take care.